Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door, and we are going to try and do this one live because, of course, it is the graveyard shift for managers. International break, number 2 in the Championship. Out went Gary Monk on Monday, which was a bit more of a surprise than this one because Philip Cocu has been, put out of his misery, sacked by Derby. A not surprising decision, let's just say. Middle week of the international break. Not surprising decision, not surprising timing. We'll have a little look through, a little chat, and then I would love to hear your comments on Cocu and on who the likely manager is going to be coming in. Do let me know that you can see me and hear me okay. I'll try and go through my bits and bobs. I've just quickly made up some slides for us to talk through this. And then I will indeed get to your comments. So out goes Mr. Cocu. Let's have a quick little look at the Roll of Honour. I've gone just for the last few. And there have been many, let's just say. But since Mel Morris took over in September 2015, you will see there. And I've just included Steve McLaren before as well, because I know Derby fans still hark back to the big chance McLaren and Will Hughes and Richard Keogh and that team losing in the playoff final. Things might be very, very different at Derby. Same as Sheffield Wednesday, really. They lost the playoff final as well. And if you don't get up and out, this is the purgatory you can end up in. So it was Paul Clement. Then Darren Walsall ended that season. I think that was playoffs again, wasn't it? Under Walsall and losing to Hull, possibly. Nigel Pearson. And Mel Morris was never going to work, was it? Steve McLaren then comes back. They say never go back. He lasts, about 29 games, according to that. Gary Rowett then arrives. Playoffs again. Playoff defeat at Jukanovic's Fulham in 17-18. And then, I think in Mel Morris's tenure, this is the one, Rowett leaving off to go to Stoke. I think he would have been there the next year. That would have actually been 2 whole years of a Derby manager, for goodness sake, which we never get. And then comes the handsome and wonderful player, Frank Lampard, and playoffs again, get to the final, don't they, and lose to Aston Villa. And there you get Philip Cocu. So that is the Roll of Honour taking us through. How many managers has Uncle Mel had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in his tenure over the past 5 years. Here is the club statement, which came out not very long ago. What time is it now? 6 o'clock, about an hour ago. Derby County Football Club and manager Philip Cocu have parted company by mutual agreement. Really? You fired him, haven't you? Assistant manager Chris Van Veerden, specialist first team coach Twan Schiepers have also left the club by mutual agreement. Cocu was appointed as Derby manager in the summer of 2019, 65 matches across all competitions. So a couple of things in that. They're telling us it's mutual agreement, but he's clearly been fired, hasn't he? I guess there must be something in his contract that says that they can say it's mutual agreement if they're in the bottom 6 or they're bottom of the league or something like that. But come on, guys. You know the score, don't you? Also, 65 games across all competitions. Now, I noticed they've thrown that in to make it look like he was there longer than maybe he actually was. But there you go. As I was eating my lunch today, this came through on Twitter. And it is relevant. Further to weekend media reports, the EFL wishes to clarify that in line with the EFL board policy, Club Championship Director Stephen Pearce declared his interest ahead of the recent board discussion and decision in respect of the proposed change of control at Derby County. The board minutes reflect this position. So that may sound like a load of corporate gibberish, but it's actually probably quite important to the timing of this, because I was asked going into this international break, do you think Cocu will get fired? And I said yes, but it's a bit messy because of the takeover. What is the takeover? If you don't know, we can bring up another slide on that in just a second. But there was a sense going into that a few ducks had to be put in a row before Cocu could go. And we heard reports that maybe who was going to get left holding the baby, basically. Maybe Mel Morris didn't want to pay the severance pay, but then maybe on the other side, look, the buyers would then say, well, you get the manager out and we'll buy. There's definitely something in this official whatever that's been notified to the EFL in respects of the takeover. And it's not a coincidence that whatever has been lined up there and then this announcement being in that order. I'm sorry, that's just not a coincidence. Something intent to buy related to manager being removed. Something important in the negotiations happened earlier this afternoon, and that has facilitated then Derby getting rid of Cocu. The takeover there, and I'll go for the best source we can because the newspapers are absolutely all over this, but this is the Derby website on the 6th of November. Derby County's football club's owner and exec chairman, Mel Morris, CBE, don't forget that, has been in discussion with Dervenisho Holdings UK since May in relation to taking over the ownership of the club. These talks progressed to the point where a deal in principle has been agreed between the two parties. So a deal in principle is then lots of due diligence, lots of lawyers making loads of money and paper flying around. Everybody, if you've ever bought a house, offer accepted. I guess it's the difference between offer accepted and exchanging contracts, essentially, to use a layman's analogy there. Club submission under the owners and directors test for Deventio, the legendary owners and directors test. Yeah, we've heard about that. I'm sure Wigan fans will wince when they hear that. That was approved, so they passed the owners and directors test. Deventio Holdings Limited, whose ultimate controlling entity is Bin Zayed International LLC, owned by Sheikh Khaled Zayed bin Saker Zayed El Nahyan, may now proceed with the transaction, which is expected to close very, very soon. So this is an Arab money, a foreign owner with his English holding company. And we're expecting all of this to happen very, very soon. We knew that there were several things that were going to happen here, weren't they? One is that Cocu was going to be fired at some point. Two is the takeover will go through. Three, Derby will appoint a new manager. Stuff is starting to happen now. So probably expect the takeover next and the new manager after that. So that's where we are on those points. And that is important because let's be very honest about this. If this was Mel Morris trying to challenge the parachute teams, throwing money in and signing, I don't know, Mate Vidra, Martin Waghorn, every year he'd sign someone for a fair amount of money. Cocu would have been sacked before now. We know with the evidence of Mel Morris, that would have probably happened before now. And it's only probably the takeover that's been holding this up. Why has Cocu been sacked? Let's have a little look. He arrived at the start of last season. Sorry, let me just remove my brand so you can see the top of the table there. Nice reading if you're a Leeds, a West Brom or a Fulham fan. That table, Derby County, they're finishing in 10th position under Philip Cocu last season. 64 points, 6 off the playoffs in the end. You'll look and you'll see a run of defeats there towards the end of the season on the form table. It was a bit of a weird one, actually, because they did come with a decent challenge, but we all knew watching the fixtures that they had reasonably nice fixtures, and then they had quite a run of nasty fixtures, and in the end just moved away from that playoff picture. My perception of the football, I saw a fair amount of Derby live and in the flesh last season, was that the motivation seemed honourable, that they wanted to pass the ball, play out from the back, play the way that championship teams have done under people like Jukanovic and Farker and Bielsa. The big difference was they seemed to do it about half of the speed of those teams. And it did seem a bit ploddy, a bit clunky, and a bit pedestrian. I don't know if Derby fans, we'll come to comments in just a second, would agree with that. That it was possession football without pace, I think, a lot of the time last season. The big investment was Christian Bielik, who got a bad injury halfway through the season. And, of course, Wayne Rooney, who we'll talk about a little bit more before the end of this video. So there was some sense last season that, what was it? It was 10th place, did we say? Sorry, wrong slide. That 10th place, okay, reasonable start. Lampard had finished in the playoffs. The big difference, though, was that Lampard had finished in the playoffs playing pretty exciting football. But, and this is key, with borrowed players, with Harry Wilson, Mason Mount, and Fikayo Tomori, who obviously Cocu didn't have any of those guys. And they were really a big part of those teams. Throw in the Richard Keogh issue, whatever you want to call it. We won't go too much into that. But from Lampard's team to Cocu's team, you can remove Keogh, even people like Bryson and, look, Wilson, Tomori, and Mason Mount. So big difference in what they had, and a sense as well with financial fair play, which we have to talk about in relation to Cocu, that we know that the charge was made, not guilty in the end, but there was this prevailing mood over Derby that this was going to be the time now where Mel Morris was looking to sell, and that he wasn't going to plough a ton of money in and, frankly, be able to pass the profit and sustainability. I can see all your comments coming in. I promise I will get to them in just a second. I'll stop rambling. This season, however, rubbish. I mean, you can't even see Derby on there because I've got my banner up. Let's remove it. You can follow via Super Chat, etc. You know all that. Derby are bottom of the league. 1 win in 11 games. 6 points from 11. Only 5 goals in that time. They've just been dreadful, haven't they, this season? And even the only win, I was there away at Norwich, wasn't a sustainable performance. I use that word a lot. They defended, and Wayne Rooney smacked a free kick into the top corner with a couple of minutes to go. So even the win didn't feel that sustainable. My argument was that there was injuries and Cocu didn't have Bielik, and he couldn't get Josviak and Lawrence and Waghorn. Lawrence and Waghorn didn't start the season. And that perhaps the results would pick up when he got those players back. He did indeed get those players back, and the results didn't pick up. So this was fairly inevitable. Derby are a big club and shouldn't really be functioning at position number 44 in the pyramid of 92, nearly exactly half the way down, given their size, their fan base, their spend, their history, etc. I know a lot of those things, they don't guarantee you success, but that is the expectation. The expectation is, set it where you like. But for me, it's higher than bottom of the championship, let's just say. Let's have a look at the squad. And we can talk a little bit about Cocu's recruitment, I guess. Sorry, let me remove my brand. Again, look, David Marshall and Nathan Byrne were sort of pilfered from the carcass of Wigan's excellent squad under the administration last year. Matt Clark, that's a good loan signing. They feel like Cocu players. Also, people that feel like Cocu players are Louis Sibley, Max Bird, Morgan Whittaker, Lee Buchanan, and Cocu should be given credit. I know it's a really good bunch of loan players. I know Bogle was blooded by Lampard. Maybe Lowe did good work on loan at Aberdeen, was it? Correct me in the comments if I've got that one wrong. But he deserves some credit then. Otherwise, I think the big omission in the recruitment, keep your eye on Jack Stretton, by the way. I'm hearing great things about him, young forward there. The big omission in the recruitment was there's no forwards. That Chris Martin was the sort of ended up as the main forward, surprisingly, last season. And then he goes out to Bristol City this season, and we get Jordan Ibe, who's clearly not fit. They even said when they announced him that they needed to get him up to speed. Colin Kazim Richards, it doesn't fill you with the idea of ambition, doesn't it? And then, of course, Jack Marriott is loaned out to Sheffield Wednesday. So a bit of a hole in the squad. Otherwise, a lot of those players were not brought in by Philip Cocu, were they? I'm looking at Bielik. Well, who are Cocu players? Bielik, Rooney, the youngsters, Josh Fiac, Matt Clark, as I said. Probably missing someone out. But still, a lot of players that aren't really Cocu players, indeed, there. So, look, the squad feels like there's some quality in it. Sibley, Bird. Sorry, let me bring it back up again. I've always liked Waghorn. Then again, I'm an Ipswich fan, aren't I? Bielik, Josviak, Holmes. There's some quality in there. Air Buchanan, the left wing back. But not much up front is what we would say there. Who's next is going to be the question that I'm sure we'll get in the comments. Lots and lots. That's as good as I could get in terms of an updated next Derby manager odds. Wayne Rooney, 4-5 on. Be under no illusions. Wayne Rooney will be the next Derby manager. Whether he's the next permanent Derby manager or not, we don't know. I would have thought it's an absolute no-brainer to just stick him in charge whilst the takeover is done. And if they want to find a new guy or it's an audition, look, we'll talk about that in a second. But he'll likely be put in temporary charge, even if he's not made the next boss. But next permanent manager is what we're talking about. Eddie Howe is there at 10-1. Eddie Howe would, I suspect, want a Premier League job or a job in the Championship with a chance of getting to the Premier League. And we'll see what these new owners might have up their sleeves, let's just say. Darren Walsall, John Terry, Nigel Pearson. Walsall and Pearson have already done the job, haven't they? Paul Cook is in there. They've already got Nathan Byrne and David Marshall. Paul Cook is a very good Championship manager on the basis, particularly of the second half of last season. He had built a very viable Championship team at Wigan, where the expectations are lower than at Derby. Danny Cowley was Huddersfield a bit harsh. They wanted to go a different way. Steve Cooper. You get Steve Cooper away from Swansea. If you've got the money, get anyone away from anywhere, can you? I don't know. Chris Powell, Gary Monk. Imagine jumping straight out of Sheffield Wednesday and into Derby there. So look, they are the runners and the riders. I'll get to your comments in just a sec. Absolute tons of them. So 3 things I want you to do in the comments right now, or if you're watching the video on delay. Reflections on Cocu. Well, my reflection on Cocu, successful in Holland, the Netherlands, if you want to be pedantic about it, and Turkey with Fenerbahce. Nice guy, calm, seemed to want to do things the right way, seemed to get Derby in a little bit of a transition away from spending lots of money under Morris and getting lots of really high caliber loan players with Lampard to, okay, we're going to play the youngsters. Did he get the job at the wrong time in Mel Morris's tenure? Maybe. Did he do a good job? Not really. No, particularly where they are right now. Was the job trickier for Cocu than it was for Lampard and some of the other guys before? Maybe. But the football, was it that great? No, not really. Was it a bit slow and pedestrian? Probably. That would be my reflections. Let me know if you think I'm being unfair there. Right time to go? Yes. Bottom of the league and a takeover about to happen. There's never going to be a better time to fire somebody, is there, frankly? Although I think his contract might have cost a bit. And who next? Well, we'll discuss that in the comments. Look, you may have heard the term Trump derangement syndrome. Well, believe me, Wayne Rooney derangement syndrome does exist, okay? So if you're going to comment on Wayne Rooney, people have had ridiculously extremes of opinion on Wayne Rooney throughout his career. I guess it's because he's famous and talented and, you know, whatever. But if we're going to comment on Wayne Rooney, can we put sensible comments? He's never been a football manager, so you cannot guarantee that he'll be a bad manager. That is a guess. You do not know. Wayne Rooney could take over Derby and be the next great English football manager. You don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball. He might be absolutely terrible. You don't know. But let's try and get some balance in our comments. He's been in the club a while. He's a hugely experienced football guy. is he smart enough? Is he a good enough people person? Can he get the psychology? I don't know. I don't know the guy. I don't know how well he'd interview or how well he's integrated there. I must say, he wasn't and I saw him playing behind closed doors. He wasn't a screamer and a shouter on the pitch, is all I will say. Who I did hear at Derby, who was a screamer and a shouter, was Liam Rossini, and I haven't heard his name mentioned for the job as well. I'll talk about Eddie Howe and I'll talk about Paul Cook really quickly. Paul Cook, I think, is a good championship manager. I think his Wigan team was really viable at the end of last season, and I think he's won generally wherever you go. Okay, he's a balding, slightly tubby Northwesterner. He's not Frank Lampard or Philip Cocu, sexy foreign manager or ex-England great. He's a good football manager, though. Eddie Howe, however, is a ex-Premier League, handsome, well-spoken, big name who might be able to seduce new owners. The question with Eddie Howe is, will he try and hold out for a Premier League job? And will someone give him a Premier League job? If the answer to that is no, and there's loads of Arab money coming into Derby, then it would be attractive for anybody, including Eddie Howe. A big club in the Championship with spend is an attractive job. The only more attractive jobs than that are, frankly, Premier League jobs or parachute Championship jobs. Money in the Championship is the next best thing to the Premier League, isn't it, if you want to work a job in England? So who next? I don't know. Shall we have a look at some of your comments? God, there's tons and tons of them. So look, I'll go a little bit backwards. So if you've commented ages ago, I've been going 22 minutes. We'll have a look. Bit says, I think Rooney would do a good job. He might do. We don't know. I just don't want to see any comments like guaranteeing me that he will do a bad job. You do not know that. That's a guess, isn't it? Where's Chris Powell these days? Says Booyakasha. Former Derby player, seemed decent at Charlton and Huddersfield. Maybe we will see. Chris Powell, I think his agent will be pushing him for an interview. Put it that way. Whenever the new owners arrive. By the way, the new owners might not get this sorted for another few weeks. So I think the chances of Rooney getting it. And look, let's just talk quickly about Rooney again. He could get an audition in that he could get the caretaker job before the takeover happens. So that could happen and Rooney becomes caretaker manager. And then you get this situation. What happens if all of a sudden he takes them from the bottom of the table and they start to win a few games? So he may get the auditions. Brett says Poch. I think that might be out of the price range. And his no offence to Derby, his sights may be a bit higher. Plucky says Rooney has played lots of positions, midfield a lot, must have a decent understanding of formation and tactics. I don't think he will be inept. Yeah, look, when we're talking about Rooney, experience, yes. Talent, wow, in spades as a player, incredible player, obviously, not many better. It's to do with, can you be a people person? Can you get the psychology of footballers? Do you have to be super tactically minded? Can you work with coaches in terms of tactics? Do you have to be a screamer and a shouter if you've got Liam Rossini already doing that for you? So he doesn't have to be good at everything. I know there are managers who were, you'd think, I don't want to say Alex Ferguson, who might be the greatest, but who are good at all of the things, the psychology and everything, but still brought tacticians in. Or even someone like Brian Clough, who just seemed to have the psychology and the recruitment side of it absolutely down. And Peter Taylor would do the tactics. So it's unfair when we're talking about these people to expect them to be, tactically brilliant, psychologically brilliant, a motivator, all of those. That's not one person's job anymore. It's not Bobby Robson at Ipswich running the whole club anymore, is it? Alfonso says, Powell was awful at Huddersfield. Worked 3-day weeks, never made a sub, set Joe Lolly's career back before 2 years. Oh, good point, Tom. I didn't mention Lee Johnson. Lee Johnson's agent, again, will be in contact with Derby for this one for sure, for an interview. He wants to get back in. What do you think? I believe he played for Derby. I don't recall whether he played for Derby or not. But look, you could do worse. We're a bit confused with Lee Johnson, whether he's good or bad, because he would go from being amazing for Bristol City to absolutely awful. And that's why he was called Streaky Lee. I would suspect there'll be a sliding scale here. And if the new owners are going to be pumping money in, and they have to do so the right side of FFP, you can't just bomb a load of money in. But I think the Leeds example proves that if you're going to spend a very high salary on somebody, why not make it the manager and get someone with a guaranteed track record? Can you get that when you're bottom of the championship? I don't know. Would Paul Cook be massively expensive? I don't know. Eddie Howe would be more expensive. Wayne Rooney's already expensive, but I think 32 Red are picking up the bill. Shefki Kuki, well, he'll put his name, he's put his name in the ring for Ipswich a couple of times. So we'll see how he would interview. Simon says, Rafa Benitez. Wow. Well, look, Rafa Benitez is a huge name, but has managed in the Championship before and scored 94 points up at Newcastle. So, look, if there's a big pot of money, why not? Where's he working now? Is he in China or something? He's probably earned more in the last 10 minutes in China than I will this year. But there we go. James says, Derby feel like Reading from the 17-18 season. Tony Pulis, forget that. There you go. Let's have a quick little look. Sorry, We Lock Young Team says, just joined the stream. It's odd they've waited a week. We have discussed that, We Lock Young Team. It's got to be to do with the takeover and negotiations going back and forth, won't they? Gary Rowett to go back. Nope. I think he's very, very happy with his lot at Millwall. There you go. Taylor was recruitment, Clough's psychology tactics. So to the point we're making, look, obviously Brian Clough is one of the greatest football managers to ever set foot on the planet of the earth. But the point we were making is you can get all the necessary things from different people. I wonder if Liam Rossini will do an interview. That would be interesting. There you go. Jukanovic. So there is a guy that's been promoted twice from the Championship that at his best plays beautiful football, doesn't he? So I'm a big fan of Jukanovic. There's a shout. Organisational skills with good players. Why not Paul Vaughan? Very wedded to Rotherham. But again, would they be keen to go for someone currently in work in the Championship? And if you've got a ton of money, why wouldn't you just try and get Daniel Farker or someone who's also done it before? Whether you could prize them away, I don't know. But if you've got the money for Benitez and you want someone proven in the Championship, then Alfie says, how controversial would it be for Lamucci to get the Derby job? Extremely. But Billy Davis did both, didn't he? I like that. John Terry and Wayne Rooney. There you go. These people both want jobs. And if it was Uncle Mel, he has hired those type of people before in terms of Lampard and Rooney. There we go. David Wagner, proven Championship boss as well. Alan says, do you think Wednesday getting Pulis and influenced Derby's decision to pull the trigger? No, I don't. I think the biggest factor is the takeover and the time. And I think he was going to go. But certainly, look, we knew there would be movement in the second international break. I was a bit surprised that Struber and Lamucci went as early as they did. But there you go. Paul Cook, a fair bet. We'll see. It depends if they want their big sexy name or they want a tubby balding northwestern manager. So I think he's great, Paul Cook. But there you go, Gary Monk. Bristol Rovers manager has been sacked. I thought that was a link. There we go. Do you fancy the job, Ben? What would be my philosophy to get Derby up? My philosophy would be build the team. I would ask for a 3-year contract and get some assurances, although contracts don't tend to be worth the paper they're written on. I would try and build the team around Bird, Sibley, Whittaker, Buchanan, except the young players, knowing that I would probably have to sell one of them each season and try and play the long game. But do you ever get the long game in the Championship anymore? Do you feel sorry for Cocu, Ben? I do. He did all the right things from developing youth. Had to deal with so much during the past 2 seasons. When the takeover takes place, they'll decide who's best. We spoke about that. Who put that comment in? Kieran. Yes, I feel a little bit sorry for him. I do think it's probably the right time for him to be relieved of his duties. The way I framed it was, did he have a more difficult job than, and I can bring up the names, Lampard, Rowett, McLaren, Pearson, Clement, etc. He probably did. So, but it is what it is. And, you know, our sympathy won't go very far in the wonderful world. Throw money at it, Ben. You only live once. There you go. Alfonso says Wagner lost his way a bit once he had money to spend. We know a lot of managers that do better with low expectations and low spend than they actually do with money. What do you reckon to Mark Robbins? I said to you the other day, look for someone on the up. Maybe. Would they be able? We just said a few minutes ago. Would they be able to prize away an existing Championship manager? But if they've got pots of money and they're prepared to pay a manager 2 or 3 million quid a season, and that be the start of the investment, and they understand how FFP works, then why wouldn't they go for a really, really big name? Because frankly, they can afford them. Farker has kind of been given the long game, absolutely, and maybe they're in a better spot now at Derby to give someone the long game because they're finished in 10th, and because they're bottom now. The expectation this season will be to stabilise, get somewhere up to the middle. So, the academy players were coming through, and the real football man is Coach Pat Lyons. Interesting. Yeah, and that is a fair point, and that's a really good thing from a Derby point of view, is that you can't attach Bogle, Lowe, Sibley, Buchanan, Whittaker. There's even more, isn't there, I think, to Lampard or Morris. You can't attach them to anyone. So hopefully that treadmill, conveyor belt, keeps bringing the young players through. Yvonne says, I feel that Rooney is a big risk. We don't know. Look, if getting an unproven manager is a risk, which I guess it is, then it doesn't matter that it's Rooney or not. Then the fact of him being unproven is the risk. So, I suppose hiring any manager is a risk, isn't it? So Simon says he wasn't up to the job. Awful at Fenerbahce. Also, love Mel Morris, but he has to be accountable for some bizarre manager decisions, Lampard excluded. Yeah, and the table would seem to say he wasn't up to the job this season. Sam Allardyce, well, that's a big name with a big ego that hasn't worked for a while, that would be very, very expensive, but is proven to be a very good football manager, I have to say. So, look, it depends whether there's always a lot of pushback against managers that have been managers. Look, I've been reading comments on a video I've done about Tony Pulis for the last 24 hours or so, and people do not like, what's the word? Predictable, unimaginative. I don't know. People see it as unimaginative rather than a safe appointment, but I don't know. You could do a lot worse. And remember, this is the year of the grind. We've just added Tony Pulis into a league that already has Neil Warnock, Gary Rowett, Vladimir Ivic, Gareth Ainsworth, Michael O'Neill, managers that know how to sort of grind. So, you know, could be a lot worse than that, wouldn't it? Agent Cocu did a great job. He will be missed. Where was that one about Return of the Mac 3? Return of the Mac. Look, I'm not advocating it, but what I do agree is that Derby side in was it 13-14 they lost to a QPR in the playoff final. They were good. They were really good. Who was that Scottish winger? I can't remember, but I remember Will Hughes bossing it and Chris Martin up front there. There you go. The risk for Derby having Rooney as a player manager is he may pick himself regardless of form. That's interesting. Yeah, we don't get old school player managers anymore. Talking about Glenn Hoddle the other day, who could actually lay claim to being Swindon's best player and one of Chelsea's best players, couldn't he? Player managers, I can't think of the most recent. Kenny Dalglish was pretty good, though, but he was pretty good as a player and as a manager, wasn't he? So it'd be very interesting with Rooney whether he would literally just retire if he did get the job. So Bilic, if West Brom don't pull their finger out, well, got them up last season, didn't they? Johnny Russell. Thank you, everybody, correcting me on that one. Wagner was unproven and worked. Sievner was unproven. Sievert unproven and a slow motion train wreck. I think Alfonso's comment proves there is unproven is kind of irrelevant, isn't it? It's how good are they? How good are they at the psychology with players, tactically motivating, all the things that make a good manager? And what are they being brought into? If you bring Paul Hurst, who was an unproven manager at championship level, into a regressing Ipswich team who've just been managed by Mick McCarthy, who played a certain way, remove all Mick's good players and give Paul Cook a couple of million quid to Paul Hurst. So if you bring them into chaos and a big change in situation, then they will be terrible. Whereas if you bring an unproven manager like, say, a Daniel Farker in, under someone like Stuart Webber, who's very good, and give them 2 years, at the end of the 2 years, they were promoted and did a superb job, didn't they? So there you go. Slavici, Jukanovic, yeah, a few good strouts for that. Simon says, I'd have the Mac back, no problem. It just depends, isn't it? It's like when we were talking about Pulis the other day. Do you get the Tony Pulis that was manager of the year for Crystal Palace and in the Premier League and shook up the Premier League with Stoke? If you do, happy days, Tony Pulis all day long. But it's, do you get the Steve McLaren that's, walked out of or been removed from jobs at Forest and Derby again and QPR? So, Jukanovic, yes. I like him. We'll see if he would come back. Where did he go? Qatar or China or Arab state or something like that. There you go. I'd love to see Benitez, but I think in the current situation, Paul Cook. Look, there's some good names out there, and we've had some pretty good comments. Lewis says Ryan Conway, who's probably more in the know than most of us on Derby, said he can see Rafa coming in. Look, Rafa is a brilliant manager. He's been promoted from the Championship before. He's won the European. Did he win the European Cup? Liverpool, yeah. Look, Rafa's a brilliant manager. That would be a hell of an appointment, wouldn't it? But brilliant managers tend to want budgets. They tend to not want to damage their reputation without a chance that. So we'll see. We will see. Roy Hodgson. I think he may be doing his last job at his age, but at Crystal Palace, let's just say. But there we go. Anyhow, weird shout, Jurgen Klinsmann. Hey? That would be a big, sexy name, wouldn't it? Where is he working? America? I don't know. Lee Clark is available. I'm sure he is indeed. So there you go. We expected it to happen at some point. We knew that the takeover would be an issue. And it's happened now, hasn't it? Cocu is out. We will see what happens going forward. As I say, expect, if the takeover does not happen before the next load of games, expect Rooney or Rossignol to be put in caretaker charge anyway. And then we'll see. We don't know. We don't know what the new owners are going to be like. They haven't taken over yet. And we don't know what someone like Rooney or Rossignol would be like as a manager. So lots and lots to speculate on. What we will say is Cocu did seem to be a nice bloke, didn't he? Shame for anyone to lose their job, but if you're not up to your job, you lose it. So good luck to him in the future. I doubt we'll see him in the Championship again. I'm sure he'll go and work elsewhere in Europe. Guys, I'm going to end the stream now, but before you go, please hit the thumbs up button. There's loads of people in the stream at the moment. Hit that thumbs up button and help me out. And if you would be so kind as to support the channel and support my work, I'm delaying my dinner and my Saturday night to do this. You can support via Super Chat. You can do that right now or on any video with a live chat. You can support over on Patreon. And we now have the wonderful Teespring store where you can buy some lovely Benjamin Bloom merchandise, which is underneath here if you're watching on YouTube in the video. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Loads of content up this week. If you're watching on delay, please just hit that subscribe button. That's the most important thing to help us grow the channel. That was my live reaction because I couldn't be bothered to film and record and edit and all of that good stuff of Derby sacking their manager, Philip Cocu. Thank you to everybody who's joined me and got involved in the comments. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stream. Impromptu. Away we go. If you're watching on delay, thank you for watching too. And I will see you all very, very soon. I'll be live for Belgium versus England tomorrow. There's going to be a bit more opinion content and stuff leading up to Thursday where we get back into the grind, previews, reviews, watch-alongs, etc. Hit that subscribe button and get involved in all of my content over here on the channel. With that being said, thank you everybody for watching, and it is from me a big over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.